Hello, everybody, and welcome to another SIG Windows meeting. It's the 30th of June, last meeting for June. As always, this is a recorded meeting, so please adhere to the code of conduct. If there's any questions, concerns that you don't want to be on the recorded call, just please find us in private on Slack or the mailing list. All right, let's get started. Our agenda today, guess we'll start with James. He added some stuff around the Windows testing dashboard.
Cool, yeah. So I've been working on adding the 2004 support for the AKS engine tests. And when I was doing that, I noticed that our dashboard for SIG Windows had a lot of stuff in it. And so I kind of poked around and started to figure out how we could potentially reorganize that. I'm kind of one of the people that needs to kind of play with things. So I started to just mess around with the dashboard code and opened up kind of a potential PR for that. But I wanted to kind of check in with the community and figure out if that was something there's interest in, and then get some feedback on what I proposed.
Sure, let me open it up here as well. You guys can all see my screen, right?
Yeah.
All right.
I can open this up as an official PR, and we can get some leave some comments and things like that. But right now there's no like tabs for us to be able to bucket things into.
Okay.
And so if we scroll down a little bit further, there's one file in particular that shows the way that it's bucketed together.
Where is it? This is
I think it's all the way at the bottom here.
all the way at the bottom.
Yeah, so the green part on the right. Yeah, there it is. So you can build it into different types of dashboard names. And so that way we can kind of organize the various tests that we have across various areas. And I just kind of threw some in there to get the conversation started. But wanted to know what folks thought.
Maz, Adelina, what do you guys think? I mean, this makes sense to me, and if it makes things a little bit more organized and better, that's obviously a net.
Yeah, definitely. Our test grid is already scattered around the various dashboards, so a little bit of organization is excellent.
Yeah, no, I think this is a great idea. Especially as the test grid keeps expanding, I think it's going to help, right?
Yeah.
Just a small question. Will some of the dashboards be multiple different locations as well? For example, let's say SIG Windows Azure Container D. Will that be also on SIG Windows Azure and SIG Windows Container D? Or
yes. Yep.
Okay, I see.
Yeah, so you can, if you scroll up to one of the examples up there, you can kind of put them into different templates here. So yeah, you can see there, there's like SIG Windows GCE, but then there's also SIG Windows pre-submit. There's a few other examples throughout the code base that a few of the changes.
So essentially, once you build the dashboard, you can include it in any configuration you want.
Correct. Yep. So if there's general consensus, I'll open the PR, and then everybody can kind of just leave some comments and maybe do a review offline, and we'll go from there.
It'd be useful to also see what the dashboards look like once you actually, I guess there's no way to pre-stage some of that, right?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
So we did this for Azure's dashboards about 3 or 4 months ago. So you can go kind of look at those. I think a lot of the other groups are also organized in this way. Some of the other SIGs as well. So you could kind of go look at those to see what it might look like.
Okay. I mean, the worst comes worst, we could always revert the PR, right? So I don't think that's a problem. So go ahead and create the PR. Let's have folks review it. Adelina, Claudio, and then if it all makes sense, let's execute.
Sounds good.
All right. James, you have the next one as well, 2004 testing update.
Yeah, last week we mentioned potentially adding it for 119. So I started to add at least the test for AKS, so for the Azure side, which has our 118, 119. And so I've got it all in place. We were waiting for a release of AKS Engine, which happened last night. So, and then the 2004 images needed to be pushed to the upstream. And I think Claudio was going to do that today or sometime soon. So once that's done, I'll open up the PR and we can see what the tests look like.
And this is for all ISS or just just Azure? How about GCE, for example?
Yeah, I didn't do GCE. I think I'm not super familiar with the GCE side of things. And I think
I don't see Peter on
Peter
today.
had opened up an issue for that.
Okay, so I'm going to say, okay.
Yeah, those images are already built, currently pushing them from my registry to the E218 one. It should be finished in 2 or 3 minutes. I think you can go ahead with that.
This is awesome. Yeah, I think Peter may have mentioned that they didn't have 2004 images yet. They had to work on it. So I guess they're a little bit further behind, but hopefully soon enough. Okay, cool. All right, Maz, SIG Windows backlog update and future plan.
Hey, yeah. So, Michael, it's been a couple of months, I think, since we discussed this last time. So, remember last time we talked about, I think Deep Kapoor, you and we all agreed that we should have a separate we should continue to review the backlog in some way or form, not necessarily in this meeting. But it's good to keep an eye on it, and it's been quite a while since we organized the backlog again. So thanks to James and Mark, we looked at it and we added a new column V120. The new way we're going to do this is, if you look at it in review 119, we have put the enhancements on top and then the bugs on the bottom, which kind of shows you somebody joining the team.
Okay.
The big bucket items more like a roadmap. So enhancement, I consider that, and then the bottom. We have done a couple of cleanup here and there as well. So today, just this is FYI for the community, I'm going to be sending out a doodle on a bi-weekly, every 2 weeks. We are proposing a meeting. I'll send out the agenda. Basically, we just go through the backlog on a regular basis. I'll send it out in Slack. Please respond to it and propose a time that works for all of you. We're hoping that most of you can join. Again, the purpose is to keep an eye on where we are going, keep things a little bit organized. This is some of the feedback, Michael, probably you've heard. We were talking with a couple of folks from Atlassian and a couple of other folks who wanted to join SIG Windows. They were like, we don't know what is happening. What are you guys working on today? I think these kind of efforts are going to help them.
I absolutely, completely agree. And I actually have a couple more suggestions to make when you're done. Go ahead, finish up.
Yeah, so that's it. That's the update. The rest, I was thinking of whatever, I'm not, we're not doing too much. We'll do it in the meeting. In the first meeting, we're going to go through the board and take all the decisions.
Awesome. I mean, we don't have a huge backlog,
right.
but obviously I personally don't do a great job of looking into it. I have a couple of suggestions. When you have the doodle, let's add it to this SIG Windows meeting notes and don't choose the date yet until everybody has a chance, because most people don't pay attention to Slack, but they'll see this meeting, some of them view it offline. So we can add the link here. So when you have it, then maybe after next Tuesday, next Wednesday, you pick the date. That way, we'll give everybody a date to do that. The second thing is, one of the things I've seen that works very well with other communities is actually tagging issues as a good first issue. For someone that wants to get started, what are some issues that are, usually contributors start by first attending meetings, then they play with the product and they look at docs, maybe they make a PR to docs, and then after that they say, okay, now it's time for me to fix a bug. But they don't have the domain knowledge yet to figure out which bugs are easier for them to address versus harder. So one thing that worked well is basically tag issues as good first issue. Someone that's just starting, something that's simple, maybe something that's just a small UI change or something that that's basically gonna nothing too complicated. I'm trying to figure out an example. And for example, Gene talked to us either last week or 2 weeks ago about changing how volume mounting works. That's a complicated change. No newbie will be able to pick it up. But for example, a change that said the statistics that are coming from container are aggregated on the wrong interval, like per minute versus hourly. That's simple. Someone that's coming up could figure out where the code is, figure out the algorithm for the aggregation, and fix it, right? So, so I think all of us from the community should start tagging issues as good first issue when you see them.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great idea. So, and that's the meeting. So I will post the doodle and wait for it. So once that meeting starts, uh, during that meeting, these kind of things we can like collectively look at. I think everybody should do it, but that's purpose of the meeting to kind of like reinforce these things. And you're absolutely right. Actually, my first PR in the Kubernetes was the good first issue, and it really helped me like when I was looking to do a PR. So I agree there with you, Michael.
Yeah, and I don't think we have any for SIG Windows, any good first issues anywhere.
Yeah,
but
that's true. Yeah, and that may mean like splitting up the bigger issues into smaller issues and making that. I mean, that's also fair. And I'm like willing to work, on this and keeping it maintained and like a little bit up to date. I think it's going to be a little bit of help to the community.
Very, very cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
Anything else on this, Maz?
No, that's all. I'll post something and then we'll go over it next week.
Absolutely. This is awesome. Thank you for driving some of that. All right. The last one, I don't say deep on. We have this long-standing PR. It's been like months now. This device manager supporting Windows containers that lots of users and customers have asked for. Arnaud is basically kind of shepherding this. I mean, you can see this started last summer. Took 11 months, and it got to the point right now where he's rebasing and he's trying to get past some of these tests. One of the requests that we have made from him in the community was, hey, can you add tests for this? I think the importance of adding tests is super critical, right? That's how we verify, that's how we make sure things don't break, catch regressions. On the other hand, someone that's new and trying to contribute, I think it's a high mountain for them to tell them to go ahead and add both a test as well as a PR. I want to get everybody's thoughts on this. Like, this change with the device manager seems to be needed by many folks. I'm wondering if we should just let it in now before tests are ready, and then, put it in our test backlog, whether Arnaud creates it or someone from our team does. That's kind of the next step. What do you guys think? This is a PR here that he just rebased it and trying to get it through the motions to actually get it approved in. No thoughts? Okay, I'll work with Deep, since Deep and I have been talking to Arnaud before. Has anybody, let me ask a different question. This is more for the folks on Microsoft and Maz. Have you guys heard anybody asking for device manager support for Windows container images?
I think I've heard about it, the device manager. I wanted to sorry, I missed it. I was dealing with something at home. I missed the comment. So is this like when we're gonna move to containerd, or like when containerd is gonna be supported, like are you gonna pass it to the containerd CRI interface, like this device assignment? Is this about device management? Okay.
This is for basically being able to use the device manager. Let me see. There was someone that added the use case here, and I don't remember it off the top of the head. Okay, going back months now. Yeah, I can't find it right now. There was a specific thing that someone needed. Maybe it was in a discussion that this happened, but there was a specific capability that someone needed that this enabled. And yeah, I can't find it right now. I think oh, there's 140 loaded items, hidden
Yeah.
items. That's probably
I
why.
definitely have heard about this before from multiple. I can't remember the context, but I can get back to you on this. We certainly have seen some requirements around this, and it may be a good discussion with Mark, like around how the container D is going to support this.
Okay. Yeah, like do you want me to CC you on that?
Yes, please.
Okay. All right, cool. All right, that's all the stuff that we had today in our agenda. Any other questions, concerns from anybody? And it will help if we had the right date, 6:30 here.
So this is Jing. I asked a question on the Slack about NFS in Windows. So I was trying to see whether it is easy to support NFS in Windows so that both Linux and Windows can use the same NFS share. For my very simple testing, manually testing, when I mount NFS on Windows, is only readable. And there is article I searched online. There seems some complicated configuration in Windows needed so that it can access NFS share. So I want to see anyone have some experience, knowledge about it.
So we, I don't remember if it was David that had done the initial work here. David, I may be misremember, it may have been James or someone else from Microsoft, but when we were looking into supporting NFS, it looked like things were just not working. So we made that decision to say NFS-based storage and volume support is not supported. These were like, if you can see my screen, I took you back to the documentation because we documented, because we had, at that point in time, we had several folks that were asking about it. This is kind of where we are. I don't know what effort it would take to support NFS.
Okay. So right now, yeah, there's no kind of no one working on that direction.
Yeah, not really.
Client in Windows is a v3 client, not a v4. So you're going to be limited by the v3, is my recollection.
Sorry, can you say that again?
If I remember correctly, the client for NFS is that ships in box in Windows is a v3 client, not a v4. So that may be giving you some of your issues.
Oh.
Can you upgrade that?
I don't think Microsoft ships a v4 client. If you install your own client, then yes.
I mean, traditionally, not that many people use NFS with Windows, right? So that's kind of.
Yeah, so NFS, the NFS client in Windows supports v3 and v2. NFS server supports v4, but not the client side.
God, thank you, Nick.
So does it mean it's possible that if you use NFS v3, it just work in Windows?
If you have an NFS server v3, would that work, Nick?
I mean, NFS is regularly tested at Microsoft. It does work.
Okay.
If you are finding bugs, I can route you to some of the owners internally.
Okay, so then I would try again to see whether I can use v3 and let you know. Yeah. Thank you.
I posted the supported components for NFS in the chat window.
Got it. Thank you.
Add it to the notes as well.
So then I want to ask, like at that time when people investigate NFS, why like they stopped? So is that because
It may have been a lack of resources or lack of time.
Oh, okay.
And like at that time, probably someone tried it. It didn't seem to work. They and they let go.
Okay.
I do know for cross OS mounting of storage, people have been using SMB. So that is another option instead of using NFS.
Right. I tried SMB and it seems working overall. So it just like we also want to investigate whether NFS also works.
Yeah. Are you going to try for persistent volumes or regular volumes?
You mean NFS?
Yeah.
Or
yeah, for NFS.
So because we have a file store service, right, provide NFS share, so I just use that to test.
Got it. So it won't be a persistent volume. It would just be access to data.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. I don't know if it will work for persistent volume claim. I don't know what it would look like.
It is actually persistent volume claim. So you just create a PVC, PV, right, to represent the NFS, like put your NFS information there, and use that PVC in the path.
Okay. So okay. Yeah. So essentially, if you guys didn't work, it works, then we need to document it here for the in3 volume plugins for NFS.
Sure.
And then, by the way, that what Nick was mentioning earlier, like, you know, SMB and iSCSI are two of the flex volume plugins that we have tested before, and they work very well for Windows.
So right now we are like moving to CSI, and Andy from Microsoft just had a CSI SMB driver pushed like in the repo. So we are testing the CSI SMB driver and plan to use that instead of flex volume.
Okay.
So because
that's a
overall,
CSI with Windows with a proxy, right? That DB is driving.
Right. For
Okay.
Windows, we use CSI proxy.
Yeah.
So we are kind of suggesting to use, if possible, to use CSI instead of flex volume. It's just right now we're still kind of testing, right, the CSI driver. And if anyone interested in that, please help like test and let us know.
Okay. I'll add that to note as well.
So for CSI, we have CSI Windows meeting every Monday, and we also have CSI dash Windows Slack, and yeah, we have a Slack channel there. It's not just Google; it's also Microsoft and Docker, right? We have some people working on that CSI project.
So, can you post the time for that and where to get an invite for that meeting?
Sure. So the time is right now is Monday afternoon 3:30 PST time, and the Slack is CSI-Windows. And please join that, and we'll update all the information there.
I added it here as well, Nick. Reference it later. All right. Any other questions, concerns, anything, anybody, any quick update anybody wants to provide? All right. Everybody have a great rest of your day and week, and enjoy the long weekend if you're in the States. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
I
Yeah.